Hello. It's October 10, 2023, SIG Node Sidecar Working Group. Welcome, everybody. We have a couple items on agenda. We merged the cap, so we're good to go for beta in 1.29. So the question now is like how to execute on that. We have plenty of PRs, and I think the biggest PR we need to discuss is this terminating order.
Yeah, that's the engine. Now we're talking about it on Slack. It's just the simple fact of trying to restart makes it a lot more complicated, unfortunately. So the one up does most everything except for it doesn't do the restart of once termination starts. And so it comes down to once you're in termination, like the standard pod lifecycle stuff all stops and everything, sort of, which is normally responsible for the container restart. So I looked at a few different ways to fix it. Everything seemed ugly. Then Gunchu, I think, suggested trying to fold the compute pod actions into while we're waiting for termination. That may work. I guess part of it is like trying to avoid like major changes to the existing pod lifecycle code. It's part of the challenge. So I think we don't want to get to what we had with 1.2.8, where there was a subtle bug and like init container restarts, and then there's a request to make it basically easier to review and easier to determine that hey, this flag actually doesn't affect anything. So trying to follow that, it's a bit challenging.
So PR as it stands today, is it ready to be merged with terminating but not restarting, right?
Yeah. Okay. So it's ready to be merged now. It's done in a way that it's super easy to review. Like you can look at it and see that if the flag's off, it doesn't change anything regarding termination. But yeah, it just doesn't do the restart.
Okay. And yeah, I look at code and like there is a lot of places where it's check for deletion timestamp. So deletion timestamp is this magic value that we always check, and there's a lot of logic bind to that. I wonder, one thing is how to change the code in kubelet, and I wonder if there is anything else that may depend on this deletion timestamp. I would say some endpoints or some other like external controllers may look at it.
Probably so. So I know in Carver, like once we see a deletion timestamp on a pod, we assume that all right, it'll be gone shortly. It's effectively dead at that point for our purposes. Yeah, I guess internally with kubelet, I haven't looked at like the compute pod lifecycle actions, whatever the method's called, but yeah, there's probably a lot of assumptions all throughout the code base that once the pod is on its way to being deleted, things will just work a little differently. It's sort of what causes the whole. Yeah.
Yes, maybe config map or secrets used by those pod may not be updated after it sets the deletion timestamp. Maybe we have to check it.
Yeah, I remember we added some logic to change the status reporting to API server after deletion timestamp was set, because we had some race conditions there. Just vaguely remember that.
And my concern about this PR is this PR will be not independent to the restart behavior. So after we merge this PR, then we have to rework all of this. That is my only concern. What do you think about that?
So I think with this PR, we can stay in alpha, but with better functionality. I think to get into beta, we need to say that we have all the code merged that will not change any behavior in future. So I think it's okay to merge this, and like assuming that like if nothing else happens, we stay in alpha, but we have a better behavior, like desired behavior.
Okay.
But we would have restart support. That's why I want to merge it soon. And then John from Istio wants to test it. So like, yeah, let's just have like right now he has this problem because alpha behaves different from what beta will behave. So he cannot just have one implementation, and he's like asking whether he need to do like conditional implementation or like do something fancy there. And I think that the right answer would be behavior is set. The only thing we don't support is this scenario with restarts. You will be okay with that?
Yes, yes, that is fair.
Yeah, it seems okay. Yeah, and just knowing that this whole PR might need to go away at some point, depending on if we have to rework the restarts into the existing pod lifecycle and kind of keep pods as like a semi-terminated state. Like it gets ugly, and then becomes harder to review for trying to ensure that we didn't break something.
Is there any pre-factoring we can make? I'm trying to think of
Refactoring?
like pre-factoring, like something we can change that will make it easier to add this functionality. Yeah, we will need to start calling this compute action right after termination.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you got to call the compute pod actions, or else you've got to re-implement everything it does, which is like the checking probes and all this kind of stuff.
Yes.
And so I think it's probably true that somehow you've got to continue to call compute pod actions even after the pod is started to terminate, which doesn't happen currently.
Okay. And we cannot just enable liveness probes on sidecars after termination, right? Because if we'll do that, then we will not react on failed liveness probes. There will be no action to delete this pod or delete this container.
Yeah, I think the compute pod actions will probably need to change because it's got stuff like restart, like recreate the pod sandbox and stuff. If things change to the point where you need to recreate the pod sandbox, I don't think you can do that at that point when you're in the middle of terminating. Yeah, that's why it's a tricky one to try to make work correctly. I think not possible, but risky.
Okay.
Skimming through compute pod actions.
And I have one question about the cap. Do we wait for the pre-stop to finish before sending the SIG term to the container or not?
We do, right? Unless it's secure.
Yeah.
So if the pre-stop takes too long, then the container will get SIG term after the termination grace period, right?
That was the
Okay.
plan.
Okay. Because the pseudocode is not consistent with that.
Yeah, it's I think from actuality, it should be like if you consume all the grace period, you get SIG term, then the minimum 2 second.
Mm-hmm.
I think grace period before the SIG kill.
Yes.
But all that happens in parallel, effectively, if they all consume the if something consumes the grace period.
I think we need really many E2 tests for this termination scenario.
Yeah.
To test the restart behavior.
So I have a few in that PR.
I didn't see.
3, I guess, just for the in the container lifecycle tests.
Yeah, you already made it.
No, let's cover everything. I'm not sure. Yeah, I think the last one I added was the pre-stop never exits. Yeah, there's one where it does the pre-stop never exits. Yeah, pre-stop never exits, and then it basically all the cars get SIG term and SIG kill simultaneously. All the sidecars get SIG term and SIG kill simultaneously.
Okay.
So it's the middle test there.
So, okay, Sergey, if we don't if we can't make the sidecar container restart for the termination phase, can we go this feature to beta or not? I think we can't.
It will be okay because we want beta to be representing APIs that are not going to change and behaviors that are not going to change. So if we'll change
Yes.
behavior significantly, then it's not a beta. We may find a bug in beta and then we'll change behavior a little bit, but if we know about something we haven't implemented, it's not fair to go into beta.
Okay.
So I watched the Signal meeting when I was on, or the sidecar meeting when I was on vacation. I remember Tim saying that he thought that the restart behavior was mandatory for beta, basically.
Yeah. I mean, idea at that point was that we will change APIs as well, but we are not changing APIs, just behaviors. But still, it's a big change. Okay, so let's try to push for merging this PR this week. I will try to ping people, and yeah, Gunjo, if you can review it as well. And yeah, I keep thinking about how to approach it, and um, maybe we can ask Clayton opinion, like how he will prefer us to implement it, because he will be main reviewer.
Yes, I think that will be super helpful because he will eventually review the PR. Yeah.
Okay, let me take this as an action item. I will reach out to him and try to understand try to get his advice on how to approach it. It will be a challenge. I looked at code and I don't know, like it will change everything, and like it's and beta is the name by default, so it makes it even scarier.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I'll just do this. I'm like, no, that doesn't work. And I kept trying it different ways, and I'm just like, man, there's just no good way to fit this in without like it change just keeps growing and growing.
Yeah, and we'll find some edge cases for sure, like when we didn't account for.
So you said that I thought there was a change that beta doesn't necessarily mean enabled by default anymore.
Yeah, we can go to beta with disabled state. I don't see much of a reason unless we will say that change is so risky that we don't want to make it default. Yeah, it's always an option. Yeah, we can do that. Red Hat actually prefers disabled betas and alpha because they have a policy that like not allowing them to run any experiment in production with alpha. So disabled beta is the way they try to work around this limitation, which is not good. I mean, we have alpha intentionally, like so people will try. Okay. Yeah, I don't have anything else. We have plenty of other PRs that needs to be reviewed, and I think let's try to merge as much as possible. I will start reaching to people. Um, yeah, that's the only action item I see right now. Okay. Thank you,
Yes.
everybody. Bye.
Thank you.